Today we are going to look at desktop publishing, and there is a PDF file which I have posted up. What I want you to do is to read through the first couple of pages. What is desktop publishing? Hardware and software, it's fairly self-explanatory. And then we're looking at page layouts and features. When you go around here, if we start at the top, which starts at the top of the page, you have things called header, heading, subheading, columns, and the text is split up with what's called a gutter, footer, folio, cropped image where there's nothing around it, a caption tells me about the image, a main image in the middle of the page, and we have shapes on the page which could be, in this case, a rule. We also have annotation where we can put things around. What I now want you to do is to find a piece of printed literature in your house somewhere. It could be a magazine, it could be a freebie giveaway, it could be anything that's lying, a bit of newsprint which has to be read. We're then going to look at it and we're going to analyse it. What I would require you to do is to get a marker pen, a Sharpie or a marker pen or a fine pen, and we're going to look at it and we're going to identify what we can see on the cover. If I look at the cover here, I'm looking at it straight away and I can see that I've got a heading up the top here, and I can label that my heading. Down here I've got 1, 2, 3 subheadings, and over here there's a larger subheading. Now there's something called hierarchy where the most important thing is given the biggest font size. So in this case, this one over here is about the lady in the picture, Erin Doherty, and that is more important than these things over here. So I'm looking at things, I'm looking at the graphics, I'm looking at the words and text, and I'm deciding what's important. As we come down the page, things become less important. When you open up your magazine, you will see that a grid has been used to an effective use where the elements on the page are contained within this grid, and I want you to pick it out fairly quickly if you can identify a grid on the page. In this particular case here, I've got 2 columns, 1, 2, and it could well be that the columns go the whole page, but this graphic at the bottom, this main graphic at the bottom, splits up over 2 pages. I've also got a graphic picture in here, I've got a graphic in here. You'll notice that this graphic, there's what's called bleed, where these bits bleed off the edge of the page. They bleed out the borders, that's for effect. You'll also notice there's spaces where there's nothing. This is called white space. White space is important as it doesn't crowd a page and it gives your eye a rest. Down the bottom here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things all in a row. When they're created all in a row like that, I've created a pattern. That pattern is called rhythm. When I look at another page, again, straight away it jumps out at me that I do have a grid, and it's a fairly structured grid here, in that I have what's called a 3-column grid. 1, 2, 3. There's a heading at the top, there's a subheading, and in here there's a thing in here which leads me into my body text, which is called a drop capital. Main graphic is in here, and again down here there is a subheading. Let's look at another page. Over here, different style page again. This time I've got 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got a large graphic in here, and this last graphic takes up 3/4 of the page. If I was to imagine I split the page up like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, therefore this page is made on a 4x4 grid. We won't do adverts just now, we'll talk about them later on. This page here again is very similar to the first one I did, in that it's based upon a 3-column grid, and it could be identical. In fact if I hold them together you can see that they are identical. So again, that's 3-column grid. Going through my page, again, before I go, there's a drop capital in there. Before I go, here's a 3-column grid, 1, 2, but it's perfectly halved. Right, if I go like that, we can see it's perfectly halved, 1, 2, so this would be a 3 by 2-column grid, where I have 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, I can't count, 1, 2, 3, and it'd be 1, 2 up the top. And again, you can see that throughout this magazine a whole lot of rhythm repeats itself, and in some ways that would make life easier for a graphic designer. Again, we're over on here where we've changed, we've got a combination of grids here where I have 3-column grid, 4-column grid. When I look at this middle page here, it's actually treated as a two-page spread where it's over 2 pages, and it is actually made so that it pulls out as a small booklet. And if I was to divide this up, you could say it's 6 columns and it's halved. So if that was a 2-page spread, it would be 6 by 2. There's small lines here called rules along the bottom margin, and they're also used to divide up the columns to make it more legible. Each of the subheadings is in a different colour, and this colour carries on throughout. Again, that creates rhythm, where we use colour to take a rhythm throughout a page. This same colour is used up in the corner here with this header up the top here, and again that's showing continuity throughout the page.